Mr. Tangle,
Hey.
Dave Harding, Dave's Tangle-Free. It is good to have you on the podcast, the Salmon Trout Steelheader podcast. Dave.
Great to be here, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dave, what year did you start the company Dave's Tangle-Free?
It was 2012, we officially started, and it was a couple years before that I'd been tinkering around and coming up with a lead-free option.
Okay, so tell me about that. Where did the whole kind of idea to tinker around come from?
Well, it was specifically on the Nestucca on a winter in 2009.
Nestucca River?
Yeah.
Oregon coast? Okay. Yep.
And I was fishing with my brother, and I was drift fishing with some slinkies, and I used pencil lead too, but I preferred slinkies, and the setup with that seemed to be something I liked. I liked making slinkies. I liked making tackle. I liked putting my hands on everything, you know.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it just dawned on me in the middle of the river that my slinky was getting wrapped around my leader, and I couldn't get that image out of my head, so I just kept. That's when I wanted to make something low profile and start using split rings to tighten everything up to where there was absolutely nothing that could get wrapped around my leader. That was kind of where that design came from.
For sure, which is just kind of a common problem. So for someone like me, I would just kind of put up with that and keep doing it.
Well.
But, okay, so you're a tinkerer. You like to play around with fishing gear. So what did you do then? First of all, when you started messing with that?
Well, I was using some some materials from industry that I've been familiar with all my life.
What is that?
Well, just like the shrink tubing and stuff like that, and some certain glues or whatnot, and just trying to make something more sleek. And I was using lead, I was using lead. I was trying to make a better package than a slinky was my point.
Okay.
And it dawned on me that there was no lead-free options really that worked, that anybody could really use for that application. And it just kind of made me think it was something that I thought needed to be there at this point in time. We've been using lead for fishing since the Egyptian days, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's just something different. Steel is a much better material, I believe. My wife and I been together 18 years now this summer. And
2020.
Yep. And 10 years ago, we were both hitting 40, or just about 40. 12 years ago. Right around there, right around 2009, 2010, we were in our 40s, and my wife got pregnant. And we knew that this was going to be our first and only child, and we never thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So
exciting.
The process we went through with the doctors and everything was pretty intense, being in our age group. So we were high risk, basically, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Once you get over 40, you're kind of high risk for having children.
Oh, totally.
And so I just wanted to take out a lead risk, I didn't want to have any lead. I didn't want to touch lead. I didn't want to have to mess around with any lead being around the house from fishing.
Well, it's kind of, it's, by this time, it's kind of an obvious toxin that we all fish with.
Yeah, I knew it back then, too. So,
I
I just didn't want it around any, it's really bad for pregnant women and, toddlers.
Infants and toddlers.
Infants and toddlers, it's bad stuff for them. So
for sure. So just a good precaution for what you were doing. So what made you decide on steel then?
Well, I've always used steel. I've always welded. I've always made things out of steel, and I just knew that was going to be something hard. It's kind of hard to it's not very
malleable.
Yep. So it's a little tougher. You get what you get with steel. So whatever you use it with, it has to be something that's pretty much already out there. It's already made for a different purpose that you could try to seize for a different, to repurpose, And the balls is what I was able to harness and make that work. But steel in general, I've just always been comfortable making it, using steel and fabricating and all that stuff. So
for sure. So what would you say is kind of the trademarks, or I guess what's the word for it? Capabilities of steel, or perhaps the differences between steel and lead?
Yeah, and as far as for fishing, I think it's comparable to lead. I mean, it's not as dense, of course, but
it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, it sinks fast. I mean, it's a pretty dense material. There's more dense materials out there, but steel is one that's on the cheaper side because there's a lot of steel.
For sure. Yeah.
So if you can find the right manufacturers, and in my case, I found American manufacturers for most everything that I use, it comes together pretty nicely, as far as...
Well, and that's a big part of what you do is big focus on USA-made products.
Yep. I mean, Roscoe swivels, they've been around. I think they made the first swivel in fishing.
Really? Wow.
And they've been around forever.
And you use those in your weights?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
They're real good quality, a great American company over in New York. So
you're using a USA product in your USA-made product.
Yep, and basically repurposing other USA-made industrial items.
Yeah, for sure.
Stuff that's already there. I mean, I'm a small guy. I can't, there's no way that I can, I don't have any of the power of millions of quantities of things, and I never did in the beginning, so I always had to what's at hand and what can I repurpose that's already within industry,
For sure, but you're not just grabbing and sourcing the cheapest materials.
Oh no.
Any overseas stuff just to keep it cheaper.
Nope.
You're sourcing
not
some
at all.
quality materials. So, okay, well, cool. So tell us a little bit about what would you say as far as the actual fishing weight and kind of the differences between lead and steel as it relates to the water?
Okay, what I've found out was, steel sinks pretty quick.
It does.
About the same as lead. I think it's real comparable.
For sure.
But as far as what it does when it hits the bottom, and lead is very dense and it kind of sticks, it doesn't bounce. There's no energy in it to lift it from a rock. If it hits a rock on the bottom of the river, it's going to stay on the bottom, Whereas steel, whether it's coated with rubber or whatever you do with steel, it's got more energy. If you think about a pinball machine, if you use a lead ball in a pinball machine instead of the steel ball that they come with, you'd have a different result.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't
a dead bounce. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah. It wouldn't go all over the place like the steel ball does.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily bounce, but they hold some energy that keeps it from sitting still. It just carries a little bit, and then if with a little bit of a coating on it, that can even help it a little more. Not necessarily bounce, but just keep moving and not falling into the smallest crack, where lead will want to find the smallest crack on the bottom and go into it. You know what I mean?
So I've actually heard some of of course, bobber dogging was kind of the big rage, I think, that put Dave's Tangle-Free on the map. Obviously, it's expanded way beyond that since. There's no question of that. But for bobber dogging, I've kind of heard it said that, that your weights kind of hunt, so to speak.
Yeah.
Kind of move along the bottom and have that movement.
With those angles and that kind of presentation, it goes down. It goes with the water very well, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. So, speaking of bobber dogging, Dave Tangle-Free came on the scene, and I was lucky enough to be able to be, I would say, kind of an early adopter, although there were certainly people fishing it before me, no doubt. And I got to kind of get to know it, first of all, and I remember being a little paranoid, of course, because we're all stuck in our ways and superstitious, and so I would use it for one technique, and and be a little paranoid, and then try it with a different technique, and oh, it works here, and oh, it works here, and pretty soon I'm using it for everything.
Yeah.
But how about we go a little bit into the whole bobber dogging scene, which really blew up fairly recently here in the Northwest. How did that fit into your whole business, I guess, plan and experience? And tell us a little bit about that explosion of bobber dogging.
Yeah, it was, about 2 specific sizes of weights that worked extremely well for that. And so that made it a little bit easier for me as far as the production side of it. I could...
What sizes?
Those are 1/3 ounce and 1/2 ounce.
Yeah, yep.
Which 1/3 ounce is just shy of 3/8 of an ounce. So
yeah,
anybody's,
So you can use that.
Pretty
with
much coined the 1/3 ounce. I thought that was a neat size when we came out with that.
For sure, no one else was making a 1/3 ounce.
No,
yeah,
no, it was 3/8 or whatever. Yep. But yeah, 1/3 ounce it's a great size, and 1/2 ounce and 1/3 ounce. I honed in mainly on those 2 sizes for a couple years straight, and it was pretty good. I got really good at making those sizes, and that led to the changes where I'm at now with every size. I mean, it's really easy now for most sizes for me, but it was basically harnessing those sizes and then thinking about a pack that could a pack with some connections in it, and some diagrams and options to help people in a sturdy case. Those are the couple things I was looking for. Was something that would last, a case that would last, a couple tips and a couple pieces of terminal tackle, swivels and whatnot to get people started. And
the Roscoe swivels and such included. Yeah.
And I think it took off pretty nice. I mean, it became, I think that if you were a novice at that time and you picked up a dogging pack, you were right there. You could see the diagrams that the guides are using, basically. I mean, it was kind of neat to be able to open that up a little bit for anybody walking into it,
For sure. And so for me, I had the experience of using them for trout, using them for bass. I did a lot of float fishing on my sliding rigs with the Tangle-Free, but I didn't really know. I mean, I knew about the bobber dogging scene. I knew about the craze, but it really didn't connect in my brain until I went out with Brandon Glass, Team Hookup Fishing.
Yep.
And Brandon was always a nice guy, clearly a smart fisherman. And I got the chance to go out with him on a Lamaglass trip where he was using the 1/3 ounce, I think, almost exclusively. Maybe some 1/2 ounce, maybe some 1/4 ounce, but he used the 1/3 ounce a lot. And I saw that double rig that he would use where he would run a leader to a yarn ball with eggs and then another leader off the hook with a bead. And that is the first time that I saw Dave's Tangle-Free weights really used in that format, and it was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
We never lost a weight that day, and we had 20 plus bobber downs. We probably only landed 10 plus or so, because fishing with beads you tend to lose a lot. But that was pretty mind-blowing because to that point I'd kind of used it in the same capacity as most weights, and then I got to see how they hunted, really.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty phenomenal. So you had quite a few guides starting to pick them up and start to promote them at that time. Would you say that is when the brand really took off?
Yeah, I think it was... there were several things happening back then, and one, we were doing lots of seminars everywhere I could get a chance.
For sure.
Whether it was a steelheaders meeting or a Sportsman's Warehouse, Fisherman Marine, or whatever store would let me come down. We went from Seattle to, Las Vegas to pushing these weights, and I spent a lot of time doing that. I had basically a trade show booth that I carried with me everywhere I did these speeches and all that.
Yeah.
And met a lot of really cool people, but the guides certainly helped probably they had a lot to do with it because it helped them.
Yep.
So they were pretty clear on their message that it will help anybody, and that was nice,
And it's not like you were paying them or sponsoring them; they just kind of were attracted to the product.
Yeah, I mean, I'd spoke in front of most people by then, and everybody knew that I was just a family guy, out here in Portland, and just trying to just come up with an idea on my own. And I think most people still have a lot of respect for that. It's just a fisherman and a fisherman's dream. I mean,
that's the American dream.
Yeah, really, the American dream, and and just coming through with the phone calls, answering the phone, answering the emails, and answering, putting information out there, and not being afraid to stand up in a crowd and explain myself. And some crowds were tougher than others, but I think I got the message out that I have something that you might want to try. And with the backing of the guides, I think it made it a lot easier for some people to look at them. And after using them with certain guides, I think that gave people an opportunity to see them in use and be like, wow, I want to try this myself. So, but yeah, it's funny you brought up Brandon Glass, because he took my son and I think my son was, I think this was about 4 or 5 years ago, took my son and I we went for a half day at the beginning of a season, one of the seasons, I can't remember which one, it was 2015 or 16 or something like that. But, and I, I'd been making the weights and did some bobber dogging on the banks here and there, but hadn't been in a boat with a guide with a program at that point. So we went out with Brandon and Cody Herman, actually, and my son. And my son caught his first native steelhead, and that was a great memory. And
doing the bobber dogging thing?
Bobber dogging, just like you said, with the double hooks and the yarnies and the beads. And,
well, who better to learn from?
Oh, man, it was amazing to see how well that worked. I mean, I was just like...
Well, see, those guys are all about efficiency, and that's kind of part of the program. Is you want to stay in the water, you want to keep going.
Yeah.
Those guys are running trips every single day, and they have multiple clients, so it's pretty special.
It was amazing.
I'm sure it's pretty special to see guides like that of that caliber using your weights.
Yeah, I've got nothing but gratitude for these people, that listened to me and gave them a shot.
So speaking of that, nowadays, it's like Dave's Tangle-Free, bobber dogging, steelhead fishing, trout fishing. People know. You don't really have the resistance anymore. But tell me a little bit about when you started out, those first couple years, and how people looked at you and talked to you about this product. Did you have resistance?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how many people told me that they don't work as I advertised them, snag resistant. No one believed it. I mean, it's hard to believe everybody, that's trying to sell something.
Oh,
but,
for sure. There's marketing everywhere.
So it's...
Everyone says their product is the greatest. Yeah.
I got a lot of that. No, these aren't going to work. Why would this work? And, and told them lead free, and, no one really cared about lead free. They're like, then I thought... I used to tell people, well, what are we going to do if they ban lead? What happens then? And, one guy's response was in the industry was, well, if that happens, they'll have 100 companies like you doing what you're doing right now, overnight. So it kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit, but I never stopped. I knew that I just kept looking, and no one's coming up. I looked nationally, did searches nationally to stay on top of this and what was going on in this realm of lead-free fishing weights, and there was absolutely nothing that was sticking, and nothing that anybody was talking about, and nothing new and fresh. So
for sure,
I knew that there was an opening that was something quality could have. There's a spot for them, there's a place on the shelf,
But you were a little early on the ball because come 2020, there's people scrambling to make a product, the lead-free products for these different areas that require it and stuff. But you were kind of getting into it in a thankless era, so to speak. When people weren't necessarily requesting it. So
yeah, it was all about performance.
Yeah, so
It
not
wasn't
just
about a lead-free. No,
it's not about the lead-free,
Oh.
and I would kind of say it still isn't, because people don't talk about that when they're
no.
talking about your weights.
So
They
that's
don't-
fine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a performance. It's a
It's
performance
more about how they
weight.
fish.
How they fish and what they look good. They're clean.
Yeah,
You know, they're not gonna. You know, they're just some benefits to it.
yeah,
Some added benefits, and it looks nice and it's clean, and you know that's what I like.
oh, for
And
sure.
I think that's what a lot of people see in our packaging. You know, which I try to make certain theme packs, if you would, for different species to just help people get dialed in to, you know, a different. You know, they may be some of the same weights in some of these packs to go intersect each other, but if somebody's fishing for, you know, salmon or steelhead or trout or bass or walleye, kokanee, catfish, all these, I've got starter packs for them that with a combination of rig tips and rigging choices with the terminal gear that I put in there from Roscoe.
Yeah,
It's a great place to start for anybody. You know, I mean, you don't have to be. I mean, you could try catfishing for the first time, and if you buy a catfish pack, for instance, you got what you need to get started.
for sure.
With the terminal part and the weights. So
Yeah, so you basically just need your rod, reel, main line, and then your leader and bait,
yeah,
and then you kind of take care of the rest. So,
yeah.
you know, just in my personal opinion, I kind of like the idea of, you know, I've been using your weights for quite a few years now, ever since I was working with the Addicted Fishing group. We
Yeah.
had sponsored them many years ago, and Marlon and I started playing with them, and they were really cool. And one thing that I kind of noticed is I got to forget about the weights and forget about the swivels and all that stuff, and they just worked. Focus on my bait. So yeah, you've really got more than just I guess what would be kind of the best sellers of your weights, which are, you know, kind of the famous Dave's Tangle-Free design. You also do the cylinder weights as well.
Yeah.
What sizes?
From 4 ounce up to 24 ounce with colors included, color options, and it's a built-in swivel, steel. They work really well. They work extremely well for plunking, trolling, chunking, whatever you want to do with them. When you need a bigger weight, they're a little new to the market.
Yeah.
But they're there, and I make plenty of them. People like them, and they're definitely different. There's something different. They stand up on the boat better. They don't roll all around. You know, they're normally marked. You could mark them. They come marked, so you know what size they are, and different colors also.
Color code them, yeah.
But lead free, you know, which is nice. Some people are, you know, getting a little bit more aware of lead, and a lot of people are wanting to change their mind about lead. So I'm here for that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different kind of conversation than it was, you know, 5 years ago, for sure.
Well, I think it's about the same, but I honestly haven't seen a whole big shift with lead, because lead is, we've been using lead for fishing weights since, I think it goes all the way back to the Egyptian days, and I don't think that'll change anytime soon. I know there's some restrictions here and there, but as a whole, you know, the bottom line, the industry is just not confident that there's something else to replace lead with. So, you know, as we keep making these, and
well, I'd say they're getting pretty confident. I mean, the weights are everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know, 5 years ago, people would look at you funny if you said you were using lead-free weights. And the funny thing is nowadays, it almost seems that if you're bobber dogging and you're not using Dave's, they'll look at you funny for that. So it's a kind of an interesting thing. But you know, so what are some new things that you've been up to lately?
Just a lot more fishing than I've ever done in my life.
Well, that's nice.
For one, so that's nice. Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
What
about product-wise?
Product-wise, you know, we've got some bestsellers on Amazon now that are, you know, actually moving between 1 and 3 ounce across the country are
Cool.
getting more and more popular. Sizes that I would only make a few hundred a year back in the day, and now well, that's a big part of the pie right now. That's
cool.
nice because it's a lot of weight, and I'm just it's nice to see because I've the research and development that I did 7-8 years ago is kind of lining up with what I'm doing now. It feels nice, It feels nice that those things are in line.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in it for the long haul, so how does it feel for that to be really kind of coming into fruition now?
Oh, it's great. I mean, I just honestly thought that, I didn't think it would take this long.
Yeah.
Being pretty naive in the beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. It's cool. We, my son and I, we love fishing together. We love tinkering with tackle and rigs, and it's just something fun to do, working with our hands, and then making something at the end of the day that the people enjoy using. It's pretty amazing, pretty humble about it,
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that's got to be pretty special is knowing all the fish that have been caught on your weights, because I mean those are pretty much going through your hands,
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool too, But I don't think about that as much. But
you probably should think about it a little more for inspiration on those on those long days.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Well, I know for myself, it's just been countless fish: trout, bass, steelhead.
Oh yeah,
I caught a steelhead using your weights this morning.
Awesome.
So did my buddy. So it's pretty
cool.
special.
I mean that's it's nice to see that they're producing and they're contributing to people's confidence on the water. That's what it really comes down to.
So aside from the weights, what have you been doing fishing wise lately?
Oh, a lot of kokanee and a lot of lake trout and kokanee for the summer, of course.
Lake trout like Mackinac trout or rainbow?
No, rainbows.
Oh yeah. Yep.
In the mountains, we like to go up there, spend a day on the mountains, on the lakes up there, Washington, Oregon, whichever.
Yeah.
And a lot of kokanee. Kokanee's a lot of fun. It's a nice program to dial in, and
it is very popular.
Our weight package for that just works really good. And that same kokanee pack works for, fishing for, trolling on lakes for trout, But yeah, I'm really looking forward to maybe a couple walleye trips ahead in the next couple weeks, and then we're gonna.
Then we're going fall Chinook and.
Yeah, we're gonna dial up the fall Chinook and the steelhead, and we'll see what kind of runs we get back. And
for sure, I'm gonna need some 4 and 6 ounces for that, so that'll be fun. Well, I really appreciate you jumping on the podcast, Dave. I've been enjoying the weights for years. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you, over these years, and it's a really cool product, and made right here in Portland, Oregon, where we are right now. So handmade
and inspected. Everyone's handmade and inspected by me. Always has been. I think I'm got to be close to 500,000 or more.
That's a lot of weights. That's a lot of weights.
It's gone through my hands, so
yep.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to talk about it with you, and I look forward to the fisheries ahead of us, and maybe some new product lines. I'm not sure exactly. It'll always be weight, lead-free weight, and some terminal stuff. Working with Brosco, connections-wise. So it's just going to be about making it easy for people to have their weights and terminal tackle figured out. That's my mission, is to just help people, across the country, any fishery, any time, and to contribute to their success and confidence. So,
where can people find your weights?
www.davestanglefree.com or Amazon. We're on Amazon. There's select stores around that like to carry our stuff. Great customers of ours. You'll find them just a few throughout the Northwest. And yeah, just davestanglefree.com. That's going to be the best place, I believe. That's getting it directly from us. Mm-hmm. And we've shipped thousands of packages out. We'll continue doing that in a timely manner, and every customer is matters to us. So,
absolutely, yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Just another episode of Salmon Trout Steelheader. It's been really good to talk to a tackle manufacturer right here in the USA. And if you guys don't mind subscribing and telling your friends about this podcast, we appreciate you listeners. And may you have wonderful fishing ahead. And thank you so much for listening.